Hey, welcome back everybody. Sign here again with another Additional Creatures 2 Creature Spotlight video, and this time around we're doing the Daspletosaurus. So, let me actually put that away. I need to bring one in. Normally, I've been trying to have them spawned in before I start the video, but Daspletosaurs, they have a little thing up with them. And that is, they start with starvation. See, look at how much the food is draining down here. So, there we go. Let's get a saddle on this thing. And just so it doesn't die, I completely buggered that up, didn't I? There we go. Put it into infinite stat mode so it doesn't starve to death on me here. Because this was a level 150 wild, 225 tamed up, right? 1200 health, that's it. The stats are actually pretty low for what you have. And they start with a starvation debuff. You can see it in the top right corner of the screen. Lasts for 7,200 seconds. And while they're doing that, they're going to be draining food like crazy, which we saw. And they're going to be pooping everywhere. Now, taming. These things, they're passive tame. They will actually come up to you in the wild and make like one of the more pitiful noises I've ever heard to try to get you to feed them because they are starving to death. Basically, they're a large carnivore, but they're bullied by everything else in the arc, I think is the lore. But it's, yeah, it lowers their food in over time. They only have 10% base damage and an 800% increase in damage. So, yeah, not the greatest. Now, about the only things that can see this thing through is, well, a Daedon for passive healing would be a good idea, just in case. Red Pandas actually work great as well, and they're actually part of the Additional Creatures 2 mod, so it works out perfectly. And a thing called pet food kibble, which you craft in your inventory. I don't have the engram learned. Okay. There we go. It is 10 bingleberries, which is just a dummy item. 10 of any berries, 5 cooked meat, 6 fiber. And I believe it makes 35 pet food kibble per recipe. And it restores like 300 food, I think. Now, the thing to remember about pet food kibble is everything can eat it. I mean, absolutely everything can. It's also, well, except for things like Archaeopteryx and like Achatina, they only eat the one thing ever. But it is like the least favorite food of anything else. So if you put in a feeding trough and like say there's meat in there, this thing will eat the meat first and starve to death because it can't eat fast enough. So probably the easiest way is, you know, get it by itself, feeding trough, pet food kibble, and only pet food kibble in there. And it should be okay at that point. Maybe between, you know, keeping it fed and then keeping it healed up, because the health is trying to drop as well, you can see here, as well as the food. And, but if you can nurse it through the 2 hours, you have an amazing, amazing creature. And let me see if I can, it is, there are 2 versions of this creature as well. And I think it's, the other one is that, no, dang. But there's wild tames and then there's captive tamed ones. And it's like feces popcorn. Any babies born, you know, from breeding, all that fun stuff, will not have this debuff, which is, quite frankly, wonderful. But the reason why you want to go through all of this is Daspletosaurs level up like crazy. Oh yeah, it didn't work for you, huh? Can I maybe give you one of those, that. There we go. 19 levels, right? So we start off with 1200 health, 1 level, 2100. So 900 health per level. I mean, that's insane. Melee damage, 325.5, 459, 593. I mean, they just level up just insanely much. But they're fast. They poop a lot. Yeah, the pooping stops once the starvation is done with. But I mean, they are extremely fast running anyway. Now, their attack speed leaves a bit to be desired. It's not super fast, but it's not horribly slow either. But they have a left-click bite, they have a right-click headbutt, then they have a roar on C, which is, yeah, almost sounds asthmatic, but it's a very weak creature, so. Also, if you watch the head, they can't poop till their nose touches the ground. Well, almost, but yeah. Dude, if you gotta strain that hard at it, you need more fiber in your diet. But the main thing you're going to want to do, get a male and a female, breed them together, get the babies. The babies don't have the starvation debuff, which is awesome. Now, downside, wild and bred individuals are actually separate dinos, because that's how the debuff works, right? It only goes on the wild version, not the bred version. And as such, they can't breed together. So you're going to, if you want to do mutations or whatever on these, which I would definitely recommend, because it adds up extremely quick. But you're going to have to get a couple of, bred Daspletosaurus. They do mature pretty slow for their size, too. But it's, other than that, that's it. Get yourself a bunch of pet food kibble, which is ridiculously cheap. Get yourself, a red panda or a Daedon, maybe both. And, if you're playing on single player, do not log out while they're starving, because it screws up the buff and debuff, and they get stuck with it basically. Well, they don't starve to death, so that part stops, but the damage penalties and everything else stick around as near as I can tell. So if you're going to log out for whatever reason, put them in a cryopod. It will reset the starvation timer. That's something else. Never cryopod a wild one, because it will reset the debuff. But it's better than having a completely broken Daspletosaurus, unless you're only using it for breeding. But one thing you could do is just keep a male and female around, decant them from cryopods when you want to breed them, and then put them back. And that saves you a lot of hassle. But also, if you need fertilizer, I mean, they're all large species, right? So 15,000 nitrogen apiece. And you can see the rate this guy is just pumping it out. So, need fertilizer? Definitely a way to go. But, thank you for coming out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one. Oh, that was a great shot there. Signing out. Have fun.